Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Synergy Flavors Trendcast. I'm Alex Masumoto, I'm a marketing associate at Synergy Flavors in the US, and in this episode we're going to discuss more the trend adventure weights that sits alongside our inspiring trends of 2021 and 2022. Joining me today I have Javika, who is our key account manager based in our Indonesian facility, and Olivia Jackson, sales and marketing executive based in the UK. And they're going to help me explain to you a little bit of how we identify this trend and what this trend is about. The trend adventure weight is really traveling through food. Exploring the world through food and drink was something that was already installed into our routines prior to the pandemic, but of course, everything changed since then. The pandemic has given consumers the opportunity to explore ways to create and sometimes recreate their favorite food and drinks experiences. The only thing is this time is at home. The consumer's newfound love of world cuisines, premium drinks, and barista quality coffee will definitely continue on into the outside world for the foreseeable future. But things have changed, and there's a whole world out there for consumers to rediscover. And we're going to touch on those topics through Word on a Plate, Masters of Mixology, and Burgeoning Baristas, kicking off with Javika with Word on a Plate.
Thank you, Alex. I will cover for World on a Plate, which consists of Lost Adventure, adventurous cooking, and international cuisine. First, Lost Adventure. Before pandemic, 81% of travelers say that they're looking for unique experiences when they are traveling. We can see here the evolution of food tourism, which food has begun to catch on as mainstream interest with the health and exposure from social media, from television show, and recently has transformed to be a main motivation to many travelers when choosing a destination. Tourism might be one of sector that suffered the most due to pandemic, given the fact that consumer couldn't travel as much as they want. One thing about traveling that consumer might miss the most is food. In the same time, we can see the rise of home cooking. 54% of consumer are saying that they're cooking more. 45% of consumer are looking for inspiration to try more recipe and new foods. In YouTube, there is 45% increase on cooking video views in 2020 compared to 2019. We also see some search in social media related to home cooking hashtag. Consumers start to use home cooking as a way to recreate traveling experience at home. We're talking about World on a Plate, signature cuisine that transport consumer to wherever they want without actual physical traveling. International cuisine becomes something appealing among consumer. For example, Chinese and Indian foods are popular eaten at home by 76% of UK consumer. In Thailand, we can see Japanese, Korean, and Italian cuisine are trending. Consumers are also branching out and trying a broader range of international cuisine. Korean is one of the new emerging trends that have been popular with consumer in 2020 globally. In line with the popularity of K-pop or Korean movies such as Parasite, which win some Oscar awards last year, there is an increased interest in Korean food. Ramen or instant noodle from Korea also gain some popularity. We can see some product launch here around this trend. For example, Maggi, they launch some seasoning paste highlighting signature dishes around the world. Pringles and Lay's feature specific flavors from specific region. By highlighting some international cuisine, brands are trying to bring the world on consumers' plate. Next up, I will pass it to Olivia, who will cover for Master of Mixology.
Thanks, Javika. So I'm going to be talking about Masters of Mixology, and that's really separated into two subcategories, which is home comforts and cocktail creations. As most of you all know, an area of the industry that was significantly affected by the pandemic was the bar and restaurant industry. And this really resulted in consumers finding ways to recreate experiences of going out while also staying at home. It's created this shift to move into online virtual occasions instead of having social occasions at restaurants and bars. We saw a rise in drink delivery kits. Consumers weren't only wanting wine, cider and beer, they were wanting their own favourite cocktails, but we don't know how to make our cocktails. So this is where drink delivery kits came in. This was great for online social occasions that were started and events. And bars were even providing online masterclasses to help consumers really celebrate special occasions at home, make them a bit more special. And now, even though restrictions and lockdowns are starting to ease in many places, consumers are still wanting this convenience and quality of these at-home products and services that they've now become accustomed to. So moving on to cocktail creations, with the surge of cocktail kits from notable brands, as well as restaurants, we wanted to highlight some of the trending cocktails that we're also seeing, as well as the flavours. Exotic flavours have been growing in popularity amongst consumers in food and beverage, but they're particularly popular amongst alcohol consumers. And some rising stars that we really wanted to highlight were blood orange, kiwi, passion fruit, and dragon fruit. And not only are these flavours trending, but there's an emerging trend of pairing these exotic flavours with savoury notes. Consumers aren't just wanting overly sweet cocktails anymore, they're wanting a bit more depth. Savoury notes that are popular include basil, Earl Grey, even offset flavours like elderflower. With whiskey being such a popular alcohol at the minute, it's no wonder that old fashioned and Negronis are the two top growing cocktails in the food service in the US. Consumers' interest in flavoured cocktails flavoured alcohol is increasing. Again, like I said, it's not just wine, cider and beer anymore. Consumers are looking for flavoured alcohol, which has really boosted the sales of pre-mixed RTD cocktails, as well as cocktails in a can. If you go into supermarkets now, before the pandemic, there was a couple of options for cocktails in cans. It was really more bottled beer or bottles of wine. Now it's whole supermarket shelves of all different varieties. A lot of notable brands have cocktails in the cans now, and it's just really continuing to grow in popularity. Consumers are also looking for natural RTD cocktails, natural flavors, and there's an increased demand, like I said, with not just overly sweet cocktails, but they're looking for off-sweet flavors such as bittersweet or spicy sweet, and like I said before, savory. And we could talk about all the different cocktails that are trending and all the different sub-trends within cocktails, but one that we really wanted to highlight as a key trend for cocktails for 2021 and 2022 is tiki cocktails. So they're often made with rum. When you see them, they're usually brightly coloured, they're fruity, they're lavishly garnished, especially in restaurants. They're served in quite outlandish cups instead of just glasses. And within tiki, the most popular tiki cocktails that you're going to find is Mai Tai, Zombie, and Hurricane. So that was just a short recap of the Masters of Mixology. Now I'll pass you on to Alex to talk about burgeoning baristas.
Thanks, Olivia. Well, lockdown restrictions have forced drinkers around the world to become their own baristas. Google Trends show a huge peak in searches for making coffee at home in early 2020, so around March and April, so very early in the pandemic. But by end of the year, search peaked for elevating the quality of an in-home brew coffee as consumers were looking for best coffee home. And many consumers actually were, capitalized on Black Friday. So we can see the little pick in November to buy new coffee making equipment. A lot of consumers have reported that they were, when they first started to working from home, we all thought that this was going to last just a few weeks. So a lot of consumers were making with instant coffee. But as the weeks stretched into months, consumers reported that they could no longer make do with instant coffee, so they started to invest, in a grinder or French press or a better coffee making machine, because who knows how long we were going to spend here at home. So coffee is definitely something very important, and consumers have realized that it's important to it's important and it's possible to make a good coffee at home as well. This is showing this slide here. So 34% of 25 to 34-year-old coffee drinkers would be embarrassed to serve instant coffee to house guests. And in the US, 25% of millennials describe themselves as a coffee snob. So a few other data points to support this idea and this trend that that's happening with consumers investing more in coffee beans, in coffee equipment to really make a better coffee at home. And this has kind of made us to look at the timeline of coffee and how we see coffee in the future. The first wave of coffee was really when coffee became available to the masses. But in 1970s, I think this is how it changed completely the industry. In the second wave, where Starbucks make out of home coffee a luxury item, and it started to make it very popular. Um, we had a third wave when it's considered the present day. So of course a lot had happened between 97 to today, but today coffee is considered like an artisan product, like a fine wine. And we see coffee taking a different route to the future, as we are calling it the fourth wave, as coffee will take a science-led approach with new technologies. Those new technologies could be ways of making coffee, brewing coffee, but also ways of delivering. We see a drone delivering a coffee cup to a consumer, and this is something that we have to think about, and how this is going to impact the coffee industry, the beverage industry overall. But yeah, for sure, a science-led approach with new technologies is going to be added to the mix there, and coffee will definitely be impacted by technology in the future. And with all this information that we put together, well, the goal is always for us to identify what consumers want and provide that information to our customers. So we have developed a flavor life cycle based on all the information that we collected in the adventure weights trend to identify flavors in different moments in their life cycles. But we provided a list that Olivia will walk us through.
So thanks, Alex. So for the flavor life cycle of venture weights, we could have highlighted so many, like just an infinite amount of flavors, especially with traveling through food. There's all these, especially early adapter flavors, but we've tried to narrow it down to make it a bit easier. So for influencers, we've got Dalgona Coffee, the TikTok sensation of 2020. We've got garlic butter and yuzu pepper. For early adapters, we wanted to highlight Mai Tai, again going with the tiki cocktails. Then we've got Szechuan pepper, we've got Sakura, and we've got Sashimi Togarashi. Moving to trending, we've got dragon fruit, blood orange. Then we've got ghost pepper and chipotle. And then mainstream flavors including Moroccan, pina colada, mocha, sangria, and peri peri, as well as green Thai. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Olivia. Thanks, Javica. More information about adventure weights and the other trends about the pace of nature, good for me and the planet, and connected are available at our website. So feel free to reach out to us if you have any other questions or if you want to learn more about the inspiring trends. Thanks for joining us today and listening to us, and I'll see you next time.